Well, joining us now is Michael Stevens. He's a researcher from the Royal United Services Institute, a think tank engaged in defence and security research. Michael Stevens, the US has a wide array of weapons that it could supply to the Syrian rebels, but what weapons do they actually want and need on the ground?
Well, what they've been asking for continuously is better anti-tank devices, specifically to penetrate the armour of the Syrian T-72 tanks, which are well defended against rocket attacks. So they're going to need some kind of upgrade from a lot of the weapons that they already have. And they need something to take out the helicopters in the air. In terms of taking out fast jets, that's pretty difficult, and you're going to need more than just a shoulder-fired missile. So I think they're not going to get everything that they want. And the Americans, I don't think, will be able to provide everything that the rebels want, but will certainly be an upgrade in capacity. I think we'll see more advancements in terms of fighting on the ground than fighting ground to air. So we need to wait and see what weapons the Americans are willing to send in, but it won't be the best list possible because of security concerns in the long run, especially with Israel's concerns, for future air defense.
And you touch on a very important point, Michael, about the Assad regime's air assets. I mean, we're just hearing in the past few minutes, the White House is saying it would be dramatically more difficult and costly to set up a no-fly zone over Syria than it was in Libya. What's behind that decision? Why wouldn't they support a no-fly zone?
I think there is, there's the problem of the Russians, who may well respond to this call to arm the rebels with the installation of S-300 anti-aircraft systems, which would make it infinitely more difficult to enforce a no-fly zone. I think that the thinking in Washington, certainly what I've seen today, is that a no-fly zone would probably involve the death of US servicemen, and that's something that the Americans cannot countenance. I think also, at the moment, this is simply a measure to try and balance the sort of current imbalance between Bashar and Hezbollah and the rebels on the other side. This isn't designed to outright win the war tomorrow. So, a no-fly zone is kind of the fait accompli, and trouble is that the expense involved in enforcing it is just simply too much, politically, domestically.
The US, as we know, has been very cautious about weapons falling into the wrong hands. You touched on that point, like many of the extremist groups fighting within the rebels themselves. Is it possible to control who gets the weapons?
Yes, if you combine it with a number of different activities you want to conduct on the ground. So it would probably be impossible currently, with the number of US personnel inside Syria, to make sure that every single weapon that was sent in didn't go to the hands of extremists, but you can sort of counteract that, not relying on middlemen like the Qataris and the Saudis have done, and actually putting in intelligence units and structures on the ground to make sure that those weapons are better delivered. It's not going to be 100% foolproof. I think we have to understand that.
All right, Michael Stevens, thank you for talking to Al Jazeera.